Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Charts and Cards in Black and White with Erika Robinson and me, Louise Eddington of Cosmic Owl Astrology. Erika's in the company of cards on YouTube and Substack, and I'm Cosmic Owl Astrology everywhere. And Erika's done tons of writing and videos about all the current events going on at the moment, while I've been kind of AWOL with a visitor from the UK and feel really out of the loop. So Erika's had to bring me up to speed with a lot of things. So we've got a lot of things we want to look at today. I don't know if we'll get to them all, but as always, if you've got questions, put them in the comments, or things you want us to expand upon. But I think we're going to start with Elmo Musk. I can't call him by his proper name, even though I own a Tesla. I feel like buying one of those stickers saying I bought it before I realized what an asshole he was. Anyway, um, we were wondering really if his power grab really, especially since he bought Twitter, is going to be reined in by any organization. How do you want to word it, Erika? That was your
Well,
I,
I mean, he's running roughshod over a lot of areas of American
he
life,
is.
international life, outer space life.
Yes.
So, I mean, I am curious as to whether his I'm going to call it YouTube, sorry, entertainment purposes only, whether his crime spree will continue or whether it will be checked.
Yeah.
So I'm just
I'm
gonna
just
put,
gonna Me too. I'm not gonna try and get his chart up for this one. I'm just gonna like follow the energy with this one. And it might be something we have to come back to as well, I think. Oof. Whoa. Okay.
so I mean, I pulled five. I didn't pull clarifiers on them. Although I maybe I will pull a clarifier on the last. Okay.
I'll let
So
you go
I
first.
pulled the
And
bouquet,
mm,
the birds, the older man, the older woman,
mm.
and then the stork. So let me just explicate that, and then I will go over the clarifiers that I pulled for the stork. Well, the bouquet. Well, a bouquet is a gift, a reward. Well, that could work both ways. Are we going to get the reward, or is he going to
Or
get
is
the?
he?
And at the end of the line, I can mirror that with the stork, which is positive change. Change
Hmm.
being the operative word. If the situation to date has been that he gets all the marbles, that he's the one
Mm.
getting the reward, and I'm the one reading these cards, well, improvement, positive improvement means nothing good for him.
Yeah.
Now,
Can
um,
I can I just can I just show you my first and last cards that kind of mirror yours? It's so funny. Well, this was the first one, which is the Princess of Wands, which, as you know, with tarot cards, they can always be read differently. I took this instantly as him just kind of grabbing the tiger by the tail and just kind of going for everything he damn well wants for. But guess what card I got then at the end? Change.
oh, perfect. You're right. They're exactly the same. That makes sense. Okay. So now the second card after the bouquet is birds. Now,
Mm,
birds is communication. And so
mm,
when I think communication, of course, I think Twitter, X. I don't know. I'm not on that platform because he owns it. But I feel like he will pay a piper in regard
mm,
to that. And I can mirror this second card with the fourth card. Oh, and
mm.
what would that be?
A
Harris.
woman.
So, I mean, I don't think he will be reined in until she is in charge and her people at the FCC and the wherever it is are in charge, but I think he'll pay a piper. Now, the Senate
Oh, this
card,
is so funny. This is so
what you
funny
get?
though. Mine were a bit reversed in a way. I got the high priestess first, and I was like, the feminine kind of stepping up, and then disappointment, emotional disappointment. I think, he's gonna be, because I don't think Trump's gonna win. I think she's gonna win, and he's gonna be like, oh, drat, I'm not gonna get my role in government after
Right.
all, and then
Well,
and then
yeah. So
mhm,
in the center of my line, I decided not to pick a significator in advance. I
mhm,
just let spirit decide what would go in the middle because
mhm.
whatever's in the middle is just super important. And
Yeah.
it's one of my two cards for 45.
Oh,
So as long as 45 is anywhere, around, uh, Elon feels safe and comfortable. Well, I mean, he's even been
mhm.
promised a position in his cabinet. So, everything hinges on this. But again, with the fourth card, as I keep saying on my channel, there will be a
Mhm.
new sheriff in town, and things will get better. And then when I saw this stork, I really wanted to be careful that, as I always am, that these cards are not about me and what I want and my ego, but are
Yeah.
really the energy of what's coming in. So I decided to pull clarifiers on the stork, and the clarifiers are mountain, whip, and
Oh,
child.
oh,
He will be cut off at the knees. That's what that child card's all
yeah.
about. There will be punishment with the whip,
Mm,
and he will be blocked. So, his Twitter days or X day, whatever you want to call it, those may be numbered. I don't know how, I don't know all of the ins and outs of how that would happen, but I do
no,
think
I don't.
that, what goes up comes down. You read tarot, that's the wheel. Um,
Yeah.
he's riding very, very high, and just, gravity dictates that eventually that wheel
Oh,
starts to turn, and I think he will have a very big fall.
well, I got this was my middle card, which really is about fear and delusion, illusion, dreams. I think he felt that he'd kind of found his gravy train in a way.
Right.
Um,
Trump.
with all yeah, from basically, yeah. Oh, look at this. Oops. Oh, it's fading. Princess of Swords, cutting it down to the knees. And
Yep.
then Sir Hanged Man, which, again, is all cards have a positive side and a shadowy side. But for him, I take it that he's just going to have to let go of all that thing that he thought he was going to get. So,
Mhm.
and
Good.
he'll good fade away. And maybe he'll sell Tesla as well so I can enjoy my car again. Or maybe the board will fire him or something. I don't know. Anyway,
What's next?
Mark Robinson.
Yes, the black Nazi, the
Oh,
trans porn
oh,
viewer,
porn, porn addict,
aficionado.
amongst other things.
Yeah.
If,
So
if
what,
anybody if anybody wants to be really horrified, go and read the things he wrote on this porn site that he was on.
or
I'm sure
not?
if you I'm not going to read them out, but if people want to, they can go and Google it because he's not a good person at all. And
What
Erika,
I thought we'd
yeah,
look at, yeah, is I mean, North Carolina, southern
mhm,
state, relatively conservative, right?
yeah,
Theoretically.
yeah,
But it's also true that in some of these southern states, 45 has given people permission to be as crude and crass and ugly as they want to
oh,
be, as long as they show up in church on Sunday. Um,
yeah,
you know,
yep,
um, so I don't think that we can automatically say, oh my God, that's it. I mean, he just lost North Carolina 445. I don't know. I
Okay.
think that people watch porn in their basement in the middle of the night and go to church on Sundays. And they
Oh,
know
they do.
him as, you know, I don't know, man after their own heart. I don't know. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
sure some of them would like to own slaves too. Just saying. So,
Yeah.
what I'd like to know is, what effect will Robinson's
Mm.
dirty laundry have uh, on the election, meaning
Mm.
the presidential
In
election? I mean,
yeah, in the state or generally,
in
or
the
will,
state. No, in the
yeah,
state. In other words,
yeah.
what, how will it affect, how will it affect the
Mm.
presidential election? So I'm going to just pull
Hmm.
again, I've been doing that lately. They call me the queen of significators, but late I've sort of taken a vacation, I guess, and let spirit um hold a
Yep. Well, while you do that, I'm actually getting his chart up. I thought I'd look at the
that's a good
astrology
idea.
on the election day for this one. So I just realized I was reading the house positions and I can't because I don't have a time of birth. So I just need to go by planets. So let me just tune into that. Um,
And I'm just going to pull a couple of
mm.
um
One
clar
thing that one thing that kind of concerns me a little bit is, but it could be because eclipses are wild cards. And that means they're resets and they could go either way. The upcoming solar eclipse that's on October the 2nd is at 10 degrees Aries, right on his north node, his Aries north node, which is usually kind of the future, but it could also mean that it's kind of like his future's eclipsed after the eclipse. And that says, you thought you were on track, you thought you knew where you were going, and think again kind of thing,
okay,
Um, yeah, I don't know much about his opposition though. I know all about him.
I'm going to sneeze.
Mm.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, bless you.
I'm allergic to Robinson, even though that is my last
Oh.
name. No relation, trust me. Okay, so what I have are Anchor,
Mm.
the older man, the rider, the birds, and the sun. Very interesting. Now I drew some clarifiers, one for each of three of these cards, but let me talk about the original cards. Um, Trump, it's very hard for Trump to disentangle himself from people who he has
Oh,
embraced.
oh
Even
yes.
people he throws away from him, they tend to be welcomed back into the fold.
Yeah.
So to me, this anchor, an anchor, I always say, is can keep you safe or can keep you stuck. I think he is welded. This is Trump welded
Mm.
to this guy Robinson. I mean, they are birds of a feather, just saying.
Oh, oh,
And
they are.
so that weldedness, the fact that, you've got the Access Hollywood tape, and you've got the E. Jean Carroll verdict, and you've got the Stormy Daniels stuff. Again, these two men are of a piece, and
Oh,
that's
they are.
the message. The
Yeah.
writers, that message. What message does that send? Well, one of the things that it does is it creates gossip and it
Mm.
brings things to light. Like to whatever degree the MAGA faithful want to sort of poo-poo or downplay Trump's disgusting proclivities, his sexual aberrance. Um,
Yeah.
no, here we have uh, Robinson popping up like a jack in the box saying, well, I'm his buddy, I'm his friend, I'm his black. So
Yeah.
it's a reminder to people of things they don't want to be reminded of. So
Mm.
I decided I would draw a clarifier on the rider, like what message does this
Mm.
send? And does Trump's refusal to disentangle himself from Robinson send? And the clarifier that I got for this is the fox. The fox is
Mm.
shady, sneaky. There's all kinds of subterranean layers to them, and that's so people are
Sneaks into
reminded.
the hen house at night.
Yes. Um,
Yeah.
and then so then I looked at birds, and so birds is like, well, okay, what is the talk? Like, what are
Mm,
people saying? And it's not good.
no.
It's not good. So this association will create a problem for 45.
Mm,
And then we have the sun, which is a great card, and we have the dog. By the way, that's also a great card, but here it's not. Again, the sun can often act like a searchlight or a flashlight.
mm, yeah.
Brings to light the fact that when you lay down with dogs, you get up with fleas. I don't know whether
Mm,
45 is a dog or a flea. I don't know if Robinson is a dog or a flea. They're probably both dogs and they both have fleas, but that's not a good look. And then I
yeah.
can mirror this last card, this last clarifier with the first line, first card of my 5 card original line, anchor. You're known by the
Oh,
company you keep.
you keep.
I don't
Yeah.
think I think it will lose him votes, if anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will actually. The more I look at the astrology as you pull your cards, I notice other things, and I'm not going to go into all the little details and everything, but I literally kind of think the other thing eclipses do is illuminate, because what are eclipses? They're newer and full moons, so they're involving the sun and the moon, the two lights, shining lights on things. And when we have a ring of fire eclipse, literally people see what's not been seen before. So I
So that's
think, yeah, yeah, it's the sun that you pulled. Yeah. So I think that's a positive. Plus this, I mean, for us. Plus, I Jupiter is my favorite, one of my favorite planets, because it's my ruling planet, but that's square to this guy's Pluto. That's a bit of a turning point. And there's other things too that's kind of say that he could still win the governorship, because I believe for some reason he's quite popular in the state, but that doesn't mean it won't be harmful to Trump's campaign in the state. Yeah, yeah.
what's
And
next.
I actually think if he wins that he might not last long in office, looking
Oh,
at
I
the
don't think he
astrology
will.
too.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
no. The next one is oh, I find it hard to talk about because his comments were so horrible. But 45 saying basically that if he loses, blame the Jews. Now, how are we going to word that question? Will that lose
You
him
know
a
what I
lot of?
would like to look at though? I think
Yeah,
look
yeah.
really listen. Let's not assume. I never like to assume. I don't like to come from a place of ego or
Hmm.
personality. We're asking spirit
Yeah.
to intercede and be the referee and order our thoughts in the right direction if we have, with our personalities and egos, skewed them the wrong way. Here's what I would like to know. What was 45's intention?
That's a good question. Yeah, because he's not
What
always
was his
speaking very
intention?
clearly.
So
So,
again,
shall we say?
yes, so he said it
Yeah.
twice. At least
Mm,
once was in front of a group that was, or an event where that was specifically about anti-Semitism. The event
yes.
was, to help eradicate whatever
Hmm.
anti-Semitism. And what he essentially said in so many words was, if I lose, it's the Jews' fault. What
Yeah.
did he mean by that? Let's just ask the cards what he meant by that.
Yeah, and I think I'm actually just going to look at his chart while you do that. And I'm just going to put it for now because not much has changed, and
Because
that might give me,
surely it was not an anti-Semitic comment because his
surely not.
daughter and his son-in-law, his grandchildren, they're all Jewish. So surely there was not the
Yeah,
nefarious meaning that my personality would like to attribute it to.
you'd
Okay,
think.
so we have the birds again. We have the
Yeah,
crossroads. We
yeah.
have stork. We have heart. And we have coffin. I feel like I don't need to pull more clarifiers because I know that
Mm.
exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Remember that we are dealing with not the Trump of the 1980s in New York. We're dealing with a very diminished Trump of
Yes.
2024, who is not quick with his words or with
Yeah.
his thoughts. So to bear that in mind. So birds, he wanted to create talk. Now, what kind of talk
Mm.
did he want to create? Oh my God, he wanted them to say, we can't have that. Let's rally
Mm.
behind him and give him more money and more support. This is the buzz he hoped that he would create among his Jewish listeners.
Yeah.
But it went sideways,
Yeah.
crossroads. It went because he didn't think, well, wait, what if it's interpreted a different way? He can't think like that anymore. He just opens his mouth and poop comes out. And so it went sideways for him, which is to our advantage. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, to this
Well,
of
I
rights
mean, he
advantage.
al he also said
Because,
that Israel will be totally demolished if he
right,
loses. So
because
yeah.
because what it did was any love that American Jews might have had for him
Mm. Yeah.
is
Yeah.
gone.
Gone. Yeah. And I agree. I'm not going to again go through all the nuts and bolts of all the astrology transits. I can do that on my own channel at some point. But just looking at when he said it and what was happening and where the planets were then, I think he was definitely he 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 likes to, or he's got used, I should say, to the tactics of fear, kind of bringing people into his realm. But this time it's not working, is
Mhm.
is my opinion.
It backfired. That's why the
Yeah,
crossroads are here. He thought
yeah,
it was going to take them down this road and
yeah,
took a bad
yeah,
left turn. Yeah.
yeah. And partly it's because he's in fear too, because if he fears that, I think he knows that even people in his own party are like going, we don't want him to win at all anymore,
Well, I think
And
increasingly, he will move from that place of panic
mm,
and fear. I always liken it to the cornered rat who
yeah,
bears
yeah,
the fangs and is more and
yeah,
more outrageous in its attempt to
yes,
attack whoever's got the broom, trying to
yeah,
beat the broom. He will get uglier and uglier and uglier. So it's something that we should be
mhm.
prepared for.
Yeah, definitely. Just like at the debate where he's going, they're eating the dogs.
Right. Eating
It's
the cat, they're eating people's
he's
food.
he
Yeah.
he's saying almost whatever he can to try and frighten people into voting for him.
Right.
So
Right.
because he's frightened.
Right.
Yeah.
And isn't that his entire modus operandi, the fact that he projects.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I think we'll probably look deeper into that as we move forward. But I'd love to, before we finish, look at, you mentioned Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah.
Because
So I think, the court is corrupted. We now know that, which is really unfortunate because it's sort of the last guardrail. Um,
yeah,
we could say that the fourth estate is the last guardrail, which is the press, and they're not doing as good a job as they could in a lot of ways. But at any rate, be that as it may, we always look for life rafts in the storm. And so
always.
I know that Amy Coney Barrett has voted on the wrong side of Roe. Um,
Yes.
so I'm not positively disposed towards her. On the other hand, she has issued opinions that make the case that she is she would like to be perceived, and I think she does perceive herself as a model of moral rectitude. And I
Yep.
think that is why there's been beef between her and
Mhm.
Thomas. who is the opposite. Uh,
Abs
and I
yeah.
also know that she has been kind of, we'll call it, taken under the wing of Justice Kagan, Elena Kagan,
Mm.
which I think is a very woman kind of thing to do. She's the new one, and let's make her feel welcome. And I think that's a smart tactic to see whether
Yeah.
there are places where they can intersect, where their opinions can, have a meeting of the minds, so to speak. So I guess, I mean, what do you
Mm.
think you'd like to look at specifically about her?
Well, I'd like to look if she how do we word this? If she increasingly gets uncomfortable with the direction the court is taking, and if I suppose really I would like to know that if the election is challenged and challenged, will she side on behalf of 45 or on behalf of Harris?
All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help Amy out. I am
Mm.
going to pull you look for a significator.
And
And
while you do, I just say that even when she was um, sat on the court, I said she was the one I saw with potential for not being a complete rogue justice, but at least not following their um, MO.
I am less optimistic about her because I just am. But um,
Well, I'm only optimistic to a degree and think it could be just in certain cases where if she thinks it's just a step too far, if you like, you know.
all
I
right,
don't
so
think.
here we
Yeah.
go.
Mm.
I pulled five and then I pulled a few significators on the last two cards. So we have
Mm.
the rider. That's whatever message she wants to convey moving forward, etc. The second
Yeah.
card is the mountain. So I think this is very interesting because I suspect that some of her male colleagues assumed that since she was also a 45 appointee, she'd be hail fellow, well met, in with them on every turn, and she has proven to
Yeah.
be um, resistant. In other words, no, 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 you cannot take my vote for granted. What about this,
Hmm.
that, and the other? Show me, make a case, prove it. So she's proved difficult for them. I like that. That's great.
Yeah.
In the middle, this is where I did her a solid. I thought, well, I'm going to pull a significator. So I used my older woman card, hoping
Mm.
that imbuing her with the strength and courage and moral agency of this
Hmm.
Black woman will
Yeah.
hook her up a little bit. And then the last two cards before I do the clarifiers were interesting. The garden. This is the card for the public. Public.
Hmm.
And then we have crossroads. Crossroads, again, very interesting. The men think she's going to go one way. She could easily,
Mm.
on different decisions, say, yeah, no, I'm going to vote with the women. Now,
Yeah.
mirroring. What message does she want to convey? This is the writer. That actually my vote is not for sale.
Yeah.
I'm going to go whatever way I believe I should go, and that will not be along partisan lines. Now,
Hmm.
we have the mountain, and that mirrors the garden. People don't like her because what she did with Roe.
Oh,
And
yeah,
she's
absolutely.
very aware of that, of
Yeah.
not of how the court is perceived. And certainly she's a human being, so she's also very aware of public resistance and dislike for her and her
Yeah.
brethren. So what I
Yeah.
decided to do was to pull some clarifiers on that line of five. I mean, not on the line of five, on two of the cards. So for the garden, I got child, whip, and tower. These are very
Mm.
interesting to me. What I think that she wants to do is create a particular impression for the public. What is the impression? The impression is that we look like we're like sitting in a pigsty in this court because of the immorality and the whatever. But we're going to chart a new course. This is for something new. I'm going to do my
Mm.
part to um to 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 brand the court in a new way, and not just brand it, but have it earn the trust of the public. How am I going to do that? By focus and discipline, by not just voting where the men want me to vote, but when the women
Yeah.
make the argument, I'm going to give it a really, I'm gonna do my due diligence
Mm-hmm.
when I examine both sides, and then I'm gonna come out on the part on the side um, of the Constitution. You
Yeah.
know, the tower
Yeah.
is stands for any institution. We could argue that it's
Yes.
the Constitution. And then on Crossroads, Crossroads, remember, is sometimes I'll go this way, sometimes I'll go that way. The public may not be able to figure her out, by the way.
Oh,
Because
oh,
again,
I
she's
agree.
not
Yeah,
gonna
I don't think.
always vote with the women. So she's
No.
gonna be, this is a card for, this feels very much like a wild card. I think she
Yeah.
likes that position and wants to stay there. There's the anchor. Yeah, call me a
Yeah.
wild card because you all can't um typecast me. That won't happen. And then birds. Birds is talk.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
talk is like what they say about her. How do I know that it's about her? Because the moon is her reputation. So I can look at the
Mm.
very first card in the line. Again, it's the rider. What message is she trying to convey? I want you to think highly of me as a jurist,
Mm-hmm.
as a
Mm-hmm.
justice on the Supreme Court. I want you to be able to trust at least me, to not be
Mm-hmm.
partisan either way, but to be loyal to the Constitution and thorough in my examination of the arguments.
Yeah,
Um, and so it's about it's very personal to her. She
it
wants
is.
people to think well of her. So that's okay.
Yeah.
That's
Well, you know, she's got so I'm looking currently at her chart without a time. We don't have a time, but with the actual chart of the USA, and she's got some really interesting connections. And I kind of think that analysis of the cards and what I saw back when she was seated on the court is true. But the main one for those that understand the astrology is that the lunar nodes for the USA, the south node is in Aquarius and the north node is in Leo, and she has the exact opposite by less than a degree. And so I think she will do that flip-flopping. Sometimes she's gonna, we won't be able to predict her. She's a bit unpredictable. But I think she is kind of looking at the rules as she interprets them, and where she feels the men on the court or the right on the court, whichever you want to call say it, are just interpreting it wrong. She will vote independently of them. There's other indicators too that suggest that. There's quite a lot of things. One thing I find most interesting is that Saturn is retrograde in Pisces right now. And Saturn is going to station direct on her Venus, the feminine principle, and on an asteroid called Vesta, which is the flame of the hearth of the state. It was said that if the flame of the fire of Vesta went out, the state would collapse. I think she actually values living in a democracy, not an autocracy. And even if it doesn't always go her way, I think her legal scholar mind at least values that. And I think her reputation as well, Saturn's reputation. She's like, if I keep going on this way, I'm still young. How old is she? She was only born in 72. She's going to go
she's
my whole,
she's young. Yeah.
yeah, she's going to go. My whole reputation is kind of screwed if I keep
Right.
voting with these men. Yeah. hmm So even if she might even do opinions saying, whilst my own personal opinion is, very pro-life, I realize that I can't base this whole election or something on that or something like
Oh, I
that.
mean, no, she's a charismatic Catholic Christian. She will not
Yeah.
get off that road dime. She is very happy with the way she voted on that issue.
Mm.
She is.
But but if
She will
but it
not.
but if it comes to the election afterwards, that's kind of the big issue in the
Right.
election.
Right.
That's what I mean. Yeah. If it comes to only choosing Trump,
Right.
because that would mean siding with them,
That's
I
right.
think she would let go of that issue to vote with the person who actually won the election.
Oh, you know what? We will set that intention for her. How about that?
Yeah, yeah. I really have always thought that I didn't think she'd be a complete rogue, and I didn't think she'd suddenly turn into this,
No, nobody thought that.
liberal. No, no,
Nobody
no,
thought
no,
that.
no.
But I mean, I think that her siding with the majority on Roe was
Mm.
unconscionable as a woman to do
It,
something.
oh, I agree. But this thing of the reverse nodes as well, this is a very interesting aspect for her to have, especially over the next few years, because Pluto by transit has been trining her Saturn, which has
Mhm.
been transforming her values a little bit around the law, the man-made law, the rules about and I think that transformation has come by seeing the Supreme Court really subvert some of it because she hasn't agreed with all of them. And then Pluto's moving back into Aquarius and will be on her north node and on the USA's south node over the next few years. And that's a big turning point and a big kind of transformation of views in some way. It doesn't have to be every view, but I kind of think if it does come down to them challenging the election, refusing to certify it, it going to the Supreme Court, I think she could be the rogue there. So
We will hope.
yeah, let's hope. But I'm also hoping it doesn't get to the
No,
Supreme Court deciding the election. So
no,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
something
and I
we'll
do
look
think
at when we're closer
yeah,
to the time.
we'll look at that. But I think perhaps more and more she is, like your card said, you're just going to go, don't count on my vote. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but probably not on the abortion issue, you're right. Unfortunately. Unless I'm just looking at her chart again one more time. She does have a lovely Venus in Pisces, which is really compassionate, and that's the feminine principle. If seeing these stories like of that woman dying in Georgia, that could kind of go, maybe I was wrong.
I don't think
Yeah.
so, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because they
Mm.
will just trump you, pardon the pun, and say, but think about, I mean, they want to give personhood to an embryo.
Oh, I know, but she might
So
not say so,
embryo
but
has
inside,
no voice whatsoever. So if we have to choose oppressions and choose
mm,
who's more oppressed, who's more oppressed? The woman whose husband can advocate for her, whose
oh,
doctor can advocate for her, or the poor egg?
I know. Oh, I know. I
That's what,
know.
I mean, it's all about what you choose to rationalize, right, in your mind.
But that Venus in Pisces does make me wonder, and she might not voice it, but
Well,
she might find her own way of kind of, at least not
vote is
voting
a
with
vote.
them.
A vote is a vote is a vote. And
No, but
she,
she might vote on different matters differently, so
yes,
that
I think that's true. I do think that's true.
yeah, Yeah, that was the point I was getting to. She might not publicly come out and say, suddenly I'm going to reverse my opinion on Roe,
No.
because you're probably right there. But she might find other ways of restoring some of that balance
I
back
think that's
in
what
the
she wants
court.
to do. I think that,
Yeah,
we all thought that we hoped that
yeah.
Roberts' main concern was the reputation of the court. Clearly, Roberts, that's not his primary motivation.
No. I
So,
should I should I should find a chart for him for next week. That'd be good.
all right, sounds good.
We should look at him. But maybe she'll just find other ways of bringing this integrity back to the court, and letting Kamala, encode abortion into law, and it won't be her decision then. So there you go. She won't have to come out and say anything.
Hmm. Right.
Let's hope. Yeah. There's something there about her. Anyway, all right. So a pleasure to be back. And I'm going to spend the next week reading and watching all the news to be really up to speed again. Oh, I hated being out of it. I didn't even watch the debate live, Erica.
Well,
Oh my
you
God.
know what, that's probably, I mean, for your mental health, if nothing else, not a bad thing. Now that I'm doing YouTube 3 times a week, I am all knee deep in it all. And it's a lot. It's a lot for all.
I love watching debates. I've always watched all of the debates especially
I've
since I
watched them
became a
too.
US.
Do you know what the
Even
first
the
debate,
primary, the Republican primaries too.
the
Yeah, go on.
first debate I ever remember watching?
Yeah.
I was 4 years old, sucking
Oh,
my. And
oh.
so the debate was on. I'm sitting on my mother's lap, and she asked me, "Who do I want? Who do I think should win?" And I pointed, and she said, "Why?" And I was mad. I remember being mad because in order to answer the question, I had to take my thumb out of my mouth. Well, the person I had pointed to was Kennedy. Kennedy, and the
Ah,
answer I gave my mother was because he's the most handsome.
ah, ah.
So that
Brilliant.
I remembered. I've been watching debates since I was 4.
Oh, well, I've only been doing it since I moved here, but
That's
that's
fair.
still, yeah. So, well, see you all next week.
See
Leave
you
us
next week.
comments, questions, everything.
Take care.